Sobashiya bazale ekhaya saphuma sangena amanye amazwe lapho kungazikho nobaba nomama sayilwela inkululeko. Sobashiya bazale ekhaya saphuma sangena amanye amazwe lapho kungazikho nobaba nomama sayilwela inkululeko. Sithi salam salam salaneka sesingena amanye amazwe lapho kungazikho nobaba nomama sayilwela inkululeko. Sithi salaneka sesingena amanye amazwe lapho kungazikho nobaba nomama sayilwela inkululeko. Amandla awethu. Very good morning, it's Pennywell the Black Pen. You know, when you listen to some of these struggle songs, they make you catch all types of feelings, obviously awoken by our history of apartheid and the oppression of black people. You know, and you get emotional, and you know, you get sad, and you get angry. You know, and for me, I think I've had to struggle like everyone else, watching the African National Congress, the ANC, and watching other black leaders use these struggle songs in campaigns at conferences, when they're out at rallies, trying to marshal and garner the people and get them to unite, mostly so that they can get votes. You know, it obviously ramps up closer to national elections, and then everyone has nostalgia, and they're just in this phase where, you know, they're like, no, the ANC actually gave us freedom. You know, and we must vote African National Congress. I've been very disappointed with what the ANC has become. And it may not be what it's become, it may be what the ANC has always been. But at least from a perception perspective, it looks like what the ANC has become. And what we've been seeing from the beginning, from Nelson Mandela's time, is a imagining of George Orwell's Animal Farm, where the pigs in the farm who helped get rid of the white masters end up at the end of the book being in the house with the white masters, and they begin looking and imitating and acting like the white masters as well. And if you look at, in particular, the BEE beneficiaries, they look like an imagining of the same apartheid beneficiaries that we saw before them. And we see Animal Farm in action, where the animals were used to overthrow the incumbents at the time. And then right after being overthrown, the same animals that were the leaders there then get in bed with the people that they said were the problem, to then lead again, and maybe even worse than before, the remaining animals, and oppress and exploit them. A really great book that I've read before is a book written by Mario Puzo, called The Godfather. Francis Coppola has made an amazing Godfather trilogy that is one of the favorite movies of a lot of men out there. It chronicles the story of a gent known as Vito Andolini, who comes from a town called Corleone in Sicily, in Italy, who moves to America, starts a little business at the time, and upsets the person who's in charge of the area. Little Italy is what it's called, known as Don Fanucci. Don Fanucci becomes a bully in that area, and he goes around bullying the business people there and taking what's called protection money to make sure that no one breaks into your business, no one disturbs you. But obviously, if you don't, then he becomes the bully that breaks into your business and frustrates you. So it's a bribe for protection. Vito Andolini gets very frustrated with this guy because this guy wants now a cut of his business, and he decides to kill him, murders him, and the news spread around the area, and people start seeing him as the new protector, as the Godfather, and he becomes Don Vito Corleone, named after the town that he comes from in Sicily, of which, look, a lot of our surnames come from where we came from. If you look at surnames like Thunder or whatever, those are surnames that depict where you come from that place. You know, when I read the book, The Godfather, one of the things I came to understand was there are men in the world who are not happy with how things operate. And they decide to operate on a different set of rules. They normally called a mafia of sorts. The mafia in America, New York, Italian mafia, or obviously Corleone is a fictional character, but about John Gotti and the boys, they weren't happy with how politics was run, how the police worked, how the legal system operated. And they ended up buying judges, having police on their payroll, having politicians in their pockets so that they can operate the way they operate. They obviously let them do business as normal for normal citizens, but within their neighborhoods, they weren't treated like normal citizens. And you see something very similar happening in South Africa, where Jewish communities don't necessarily operate like the rest of South Africa. Some of the Indian Muslim communities don't necessarily operate like the rest of South Africa. And you find, of course, the political elite today who have become BEE beneficiaries have, just like a mafia, gone and bought judges, lawyers, the police, of course, soldiers, and other key figures. Obviously, we hear of the Stellenbosch Mafia, Johann Rupert, Christo Wiese, Jannie Mouton, Koos Becker, all the guys down there in the Western Cape who are seen as the Stellenbosch Mafia because they're known as the people that run our economy. They are not treated like ordinary citizens. There are men in the world that get very uncomfortable with how the world runs, and they do not want to be touched. We see it now in other groups like the taxi industry, what you might call the taxi mafia, who are not treated even when people know who killed who. One of the families that people speak about is the Kaba family in Durban, who they are known as a mafia. They have killers, Inkabi, that go out there and do dirty work for them so that they can have a stronghold in the taxi and the bus industry in the Durban metropolitan. And then you've also got the gang lords, the drug lords in the Western Cape at the Cape Flats. In Gauteng, in Johannesburg, you've got in the East, Bedford View, those type of areas. There are apparently other mafias that are there. Your politicians are shit scared of these people because these people don't play games. They will kill your family. They will kill you. And they have captured some of the police. They've captured some of the judges. They've captured people in the legal system. They are not treated like ordinary citizens. And obviously, they have these beautiful businesses out there that are fronts, and they do a lot of charity work. They donate to schools and churches, etc., etc. Why am I raising this? I'm raising this because I think in South Africa in particular, we are at a point where many of us now need to start doing things our own way. And we need to begin building our own mafias. Because our government, the ANC government, which is funded by a minority of wealth, they operate like a mafia, and it seems like they who expect us to respect the Constitution and the rule of law, they themselves do not seem to respect that same Constitution and the rule of law. The way that they have acquired land, the way that they have acquired resources, the way that they've gotten a stake in the economy. Whenever they are accused of crimes, you look at someone like a Ace Magashule, a Didi Mabuza, now we've got a Cyril Ramaphosa, we've had a Jacob Zuma, and there's a long list, Zandile Gumede, in Durban. There's a long list of these ANC cadres, not just in the ANC, obviously in other political parties as well, that seem to be treated with soft white gloves. And their cases are always postponed. And next thing, the case has been thrown out. There's a technical glitch, etc., etc. And they never seem to pay for their supposed crimes. The Zondo state capture report came out yesterday. I think maybe 2 billion rand spent. Thuli Madonsela, the previous public protector, had said that this thing should take 6 months. It ended up taking a number of years. It was supposed to cost 100 million, cost 2 billion. We've had different reports. Finally, the last one was given. I think it's over 5,000 pages. I stand to be corrected. It's been given to one of the people that was implicated in the report. And that person that was implicated was Cyril Ramaphosa. And Cyril rewarded Raymond Zondo with the Chief Justice position to be the head of judges in this country. It's a mess. It's a huge conflict of interest. It's a slap in the face of South African citizens. One of the interesting things that came out of the commission, or the report rather, is that Judge Raymond Zondo, Chief Justice, has said that he thinks that South Africans should vote directly for their president, and it shouldn't be that a political party gets to choose a president. And it's one of the things some of us have cried for. In America, they've got a system that is similar to that, where you can vote for a political party between the Republicans and the Democrats to run the country. However, you get to choose a president, whether it's a Joe Biden or Donald Trump. separately. I know in South Africa, someone like Julius Malema, of course, Jacob Zuma, those people would get a lot of votes because people love them. They are seen as political heavyweights. They are very sharp and they say the right things. Someone like a Cyril Ramaphosa may not have gotten the votes to become president of the country. Very interestingly. So I no longer, number one, I don't recognize Cyril Ramaphosa as my president, even though I'm technically a South African citizen. I have a South African ID. I was born and raised here. I do not recognize Cyril Ramaphosa as my president. I do not recognize the current ANC in its form as my government that governs me. One of the cool things, I think it's Dr. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh. So Sizwe Mpofu Walsh is the son of Advocate Dali Mpofu, one of the most decorated lawyers we have in this country, who is one of the leaders of the economic freedom fighters. He was a ANC staunch member. There were rumors of an affair with him with the late Winnie Madikizela Mandela, an affair that happened apparently when Nelson Mandela was in prison. Dali Mpofu went and married a lady. I think he married, I stand to be corrected. I don't know if he married or they had a child with a white lady, Walsh, and they had a son, Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, who studied at St. John's College with AKA. They had a rap group with a third gent, I forget his name, known as Entity. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh has got a doctorate. I don't know if he got it from Oxford. His father's obviously afforded him a quality education and great access and opportunities. And he himself has gone on to be a voice, especially of young people. One of the cool things Sizwe has said is the ANC is merely a vehicle. There are many vehicles that are going to certain destinations. If your destination is economic freedom, if your destination is political freedom, if your destination is acquiring the land, if your destination is traveling the world, the ANC is but one vehicle to potentially get you there. At a certain time, when the struggle was being fought, it was the main bus for the people to fight for political realization, inclusion, and freedom. Today, we've got a democracy thanks to that. But the ANC is not the only vehicle. You can join a DA. You can join a Patriotic Alliance at Gayton McKenzie, who is doing amazing work in the Karoo. You can join an action essay of Herman Mashaba, who was previously in the DA. You can join a COPE. You can join an IFP. You can join a PAC. They are vehicles for you. And currently, the African National Congress is not the right vehicle for the black masses to get the land that was taken from them by the apartheid government, to get jobs and to get economic upliftment, and to even get a quality education that can provide practical skills. The ANC is no longer that vehicle. And sadly, a lot of people still believe in the ANC, wrongly so. Is the economic freedom fighters that vehicle? We don't know. Julius Malema and the boys speak well about nationalization and those things, but it seems they too are starting to taste the nice privilege and money of the same white people. And they've changed their tune and now they have degrees and they celebrate their education. With Ombuyiseni Ndlozi looking down on people like Bill Gates for dropping out of Harvard because he was building Microsoft, which was so pathetic at the time. Not only do we have political vehicles, there are other vehicles. You can maybe work with the Royal Kingdom in your place. Something like the Royal Bafokeng Kingdom, which has got platinum mines, which I think they're trying to offload now, implant mining. But they've built an economic investment structure there for their people. They've built schools and other things. The Zulu royal family, unfortunately, as far as I know, hasn't built similar. They haven't built Zulu schools. They haven't invested in sporting facilities and infrastructure. They haven't created an economy for the Zulu people. But they are a potential vehicle. They are pastors. You've got Likhanyane of the ZCC Church, who has also built schools and clinics, etc. You've got the Shembe Church, which came from Isaiah Shembe. Those may be vehicles. You've got Umodise Church. I think it's the Pentecostal Church. I stand to be corrected. These are vehicles you can use to get somewhere. And you say, in my church, we do business together. In my church, we have built communities. In my church, we have practical education where the kids learn skills there. How to play instruments, how to grow food in gardens. Some of the kids have traveled overseas and become great speakers. A vehicle to get you somewhere. I think now is a high time for us to build mafias. My mafia is obviously going to be my religion, penalism, where I'm going to build a church, a belief system, a culture, where people can come in and listen to me lead them. Where when they ask, what do we think of Cyril? I say, no, I do not recognize Cyril as a leader. Ask me what I think. It came out this morning, came out the day before yesterday, that the Minister of Health, Joe Pasha, was thinking of removing masks as regulations along with other COVID regulations. I haven't been wearing my mask for weeks. And every time I walk into a mall, into a shop, I do not wear my mask until I'm asked to. Of course, I'm not going to fight the people there. I know they are zombies of the systems out there. They are scared. I'm not a zombie. I'm willing to fight. And I've told people, I've made a video maybe a week or two ago, trended a bit on TikTok, where I was saying, guys, take the mask off. There's no scientific evidence, and there hasn't been scientific evidence that this mask helps you not contract COVID-19, of which I believe COVID-19 is largely a scam. We can't speak about that because that's wrong. You have to wait for Cyril Ramaphosa to have a family meeting where he's the only one that gets to speak. Our ministers are captured, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, in corporate governance, I believe, and every other politician is captured. The businesses are captured. The mainstream media is captured. Arthur Fraser, an ex-spy boss or spy head, whatever, comes and he tells us about Phala Phala Farm, and immediately they start looking for skeletons that he may have, of which he may have, and he must be investigated. Now there's irregularities in tenders that he got. I am not surprised. That's the mudslinging that you see at that level. Because it can't be enough that Cyril must be investigated. It has to be investigated. Who's the one that opened the charges against Cyril? We didn't see the same thing with Jacob Zuma. When people opened charges against Jacob Zuma, we didn't do a thorough deep dive investigation into the people that were accusing him. It's hypocrisy, but it's at that level, and it's part of the ANC, and it's part of the filth that distracts us. Right now, I'm in a cold room because we've got load shedding. We failed. The apartheid government succeeded for its people. It built amazing roads, great infrastructure. They built Eskom. They built their own oil refinery, which ended up becoming a petroleum company, Sasol. They built Arms Corps so that South African white people could manufacture their own weapons so they can defend themselves against other nations. And so many other great businesses. The apartheid government did that for its people. The ANC government has come in with no real plan. We understand the apartheid government was only looking after 8% of the population. We understand that. But that was their mandate. The ANC government has to look after 100% of the nation, and particularly uplifting 80% of the nation, which is black people. But they had no real plan. Their plan was charity. Give them free houses. Give them free healthcare. Give them free schooling. But all of it comes at a cost, and it is not building these people to be dignified. We're not saying give them skills. Give them tools. Let us give black people land and teach them how to grow food and teach them how to manufacture so that they can become meaningful players in this country. From those days, the ANC government has failed to build other Eskoms. It took Hendrik van der Bijl to build Eskom, and they have failed to ignite other white people, other Indian people, other black kids to build other Escoms. If Eskom was meant to take care of 8% of the country, that means if we want to target 100% of the country, or at least the other 80%, which is black people, that means we need 10 more Escoms. It is not rocket science. Why do we not have 10 other Escoms? Why do we not have more highways and freeways and other road infrastructure? Why have we not built more black industrialists? Why are we not sending black kids to go and study the Dangote Group in Nigeria? To go and spend time shadowing Elon Musk at Tesla, at SpaceX? To go and do studies of Hendrik van der Bijl, how he built Eskom, ISCO, Arms Corps, Telkom. Why are we not doing that, helping kids to build more Vodacoms and MTNs? It's because there is no plan and there's no vision. We've got a myopic leadership that is captured by a minority of wealth who only cares about themselves. The same black politicians that you guys love live in DA-run neighborhoods, but they want you to vote ANC and EFF. It is hypocrisy and cognitive dissonance at the highest levels, and you guys need to unplug. I have put my hand up, I am leading, and I want other people to lead. Yes, I just speak. That's fine, that's my purpose. But the people I speak to are farming. The people I speak to are running businesses. The people I speak to are now beginning to reroute their money away from corrupt, visionless politicians to people like myself and others, so that we can uplift, so that we can build fencing around our neighborhoods and make sure that we control the economic activity in those neighborhoods, so that our children are healthy and playing sports, so that our neighborhoods don't have potholes. A guy like Gayton McKenzie is proving that leadership is meant to be about serving. He may be doing it to get political votes, to grow the Patriotic Alliance, for whatever his own ambitions are. The fact is that he is delivering service to the people of the Karoo. And we have to ask other mayors and other leaders, what are you doing for your people? Mfundisi, pastor of that church, what are you doing for your congregation? What is the unemployment rate in your congregation? What businesses does your congregation have? What food do they eat? Who grows the food in this congregation? Where do they get their clothing from? Where do they get their education from? Mfundis, chief, king, you as a traditional leader, how are your people doing? What is the unemployment? What economic structures? What education levels? What belief systems do your people have? Or are they fighting with each other over intlawulo nelobolo with money they do not have? While you sit there and claim that your daughter costs 100 cows. And then every time people come and visit you, they must bring cattle. Where must they get the cattle from if they don't have land, if they don't have livestock, if they don't have the skills of agriculture, if they don't have homes? And you as a king have to depend on the political government to give you a stipend, a salary, an allowance, so that you can live lavish and go around and beat your chest. I am king. Ngiyinkosi yalana. You are not a leader. You are just a figurehead and a puppet. And people like myself will call you out because I want to steal your people away from you so that they can follow me and my leadership. Because this country will not get better. This country will not get better until young people like myself, men, women, black people, white people, Indians, Chinese, rise up and lead. The ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, do not have monopolies on leadership. We can lead. Nothing is stopping us from creating our own legal systems. Our own legal system. Izangoma nezinyanga have got their own medicinal systems. We can create our own legal systems. If you're struggling with access to your child, don't go to the family court. Come to me. If someone owes you money, don't go to the civil court. Come to me. If you're not happy with the schooling system because your child comes home and they don't even know basics, come to me and let us build alternative structures so that we can lead. We can build our own mafias. We can even topple this government and we can build the infrastructure that we need to win. Stop giving your minds to corrupt politicians, to corrupt white business people, to corrupt kings and chiefs, to corrupt pastors. Get your mind back and find leaders that are serving in your community and say, how can I help you build our community into something special? I am here. Where you're struggling, I will help you. If you get tired, pass on the baton to me and I will lead. We have lost so many people struggling. Chrisani, Solomon Mahlangu, Mangaliso Sobuwe, Bantu Bigo, and there are a whole list of others that were killed and murdered, fighting for our freedom so that we can own our minds. Not just political freedom, but mental freedom. And now it's been captured by the media and all these other players that don't care about you because their lives are comfortable. Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't deal with load shedding. I can tell you now for a fact. Julius Malema doesn't deal with load shedding. I can tell you now for a fact. These guys have got solar, they've got gas, they've got inverters, they've got generators. I wonder if Eskom even switches off electricity in their neighborhoods. And yet you have to listen to them speak to you and treat you like beggars and children and shout at you when you should be leading yourself. It's time for us to rise. It's time for us to rise, and this is a message to you, to hear me. Please hear me. Stop playing small, stop being a coward. Stop listening to bullshit regulations. Stop waiting for the law to say, for the politicians to say, for the media to say. You know what is right and what's wrong. And you need to rise up and you need to say, I don't care what the law says. I will stand up for what is right, and I will fight for my people because we want to live better. We don't need what you have. We will eat your lunch. We will build our own businesses. We will create our own revenue service and collect our own tax, our own tithes, and use them to build our own infrastructure so that we can win. Penuel the Black Pen. Yantanda Buffett. Cheers.